Before we get to the video, I want to say that I am a kindergarten teacher here in San Antonio, Texas, and I have not had my hair cut since October of 2019. And in order to raise money for the San Antonio Food Bank, my kindergarten class is going to cut my hair. I'm giving them scissors, and I'm going to let them do whatever they want to do. This is on June 1st. We have a website up. If you can donate to the San Antonio Food Bank, you can donate as little as $5 or as much as you can afford. If you are able to in these difficult times, that would be appreciated. But the link is right there. There are. I will be posting pictures of the haircut and, of course, probably still making videos, so you'll get to see it here on this channel. But if you are in a position in your life where you can afford to donate to the San Antonio Food Bank, because people always need food, and they have been sort of understocked during these COVID times, every dollar goes directly to them. So that is the link. Thank you very much. And that's it. Now on to the video. Hello, my name is Shaggy. Welcome to my channel, The Opinionated Hippie. I'm currently ranking and reviewing every single Frank Zappa album released after he passed away in December of '93. I've already done the ones he released prior to his passing elsewhere on the channel, if you're interested. And out of the 55 that I'm counting, I am now on number 14, The Roxy Performances. This is going to be a long video. The Roxy Performances, this is a 7 CD set, like 3 minutes short of 8 hours. And this is pretty much everything you need to know or can ever want from the Roxy shows that the Roxy Theater is a nightclub in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. It is a nightclub, stage, tables, waitresses, all that stuff. Frank booked it for 3 nights, or he got booked there for 3 nights in December of 1973. The first night was an invite-only sort of sound check. They filmed it. It was the normal band. Ian Underwood is normally a part of the 73 band. He was not there for these shows. He had a family issue he had to deal with. But the rest of the band is there. This is George Duke and Tom Fowler. George Duke on keyboards, Tom Fowler on bass, who would be there for the entire 73-74 run. Phenomenal run of music. You got Ruth Underwood on percussion. You got Bruce Fowler on trombone. You have Napoleon Murphy Brock on Napoleon Murphy Brockness, singing and saxophone and flute. Ralph Humphrey on drums, and George Duke and Chester Thompson on drums. So this was the first tour that Napoleon Murphy Brock and Chester Thompson were on, and this is sort of the the end of that first tour. It started in October. We're now in early December for these shows. So we did a Saturday night show, which was like a sound check. They filmed it. Jeff Simmons and Don Preston were there. Some of that material would be used on the album Roxy and Elsewhere. And then the second night, Sunday and Monday, they did an early and late show, and early and a late show. And Frank recorded those and filmed those, but of course there were the problems with, the audio did not sync up with the video, so they could not make the movie. And so all that came out, during Frank's mostly during Frank's lifetime, was Roxy and Elsewhere, the album, which came out in 1974. And that is tracks from these 4 shows, including tracks from that sound check show. The entire Pygmy Twilight Dummy Up thing with Jeff Simmons, that is entirely from the Saturday show, which was like a closed invite-only sound check type thing. The rest of the material is from, those 4 shows. And then the Elsewhere stuff is the Son of Orange County and More Trouble Every Day, which came from a series of shows that Frank did in May of 1974, late April, early May. Not very many shows at all. Pretty much this exact same band. Ruth Underwood was not there, but Walt Fowler was. Jeff Simmons was. Don Preston was. So that was a weird little band. They did a whole bunch of Mothers material, like a big chunk of 30 to 40 minutes of old Mother songs. Very interesting tour. And if anybody from the ZFT is watching this, I propose an Elsewhere box set. I think you could easily do like a 3-disc Elsewhere set, something along the lines of like Hammersmith, or a lot of these shows that they have, where you essentially take a theme and you compile a disc around the theme, or like Zinni. I think the Zappa in New York 40th anniversary is exactly what you could do with Elsewhere. These shows pretty much had very similar set lists with, a handful of songs only played a handful of times. And so I think you could like simulate a set list over the course of 3 CDs and include almost every single song performed. We know based on the Roxy and Elsewhere album that at least 2 of those shows there are good sounding recordings of, because the material comes from 2 performances. There's a couple good boots out there, so I'm assuming that ZFT might have some good stuff, but a 3-disc set called Elsewhere would be phenomenal if you're looking for ideas. Don't wait for the 50th anniversary of it. I don't want to wait 3 years, but that's a good idea, right? Anyways, back to this. So that is all we got was Roxy and Elsewhere. But everybody kind of knew there were these tapes. They knew that there was this failed attempt to make a film, so there was this audio. Where was it? Well, when then You Can't Do That on Stage Volume 1 came out, right there, right towards the end of side 1, you get an I'm the Slime and a Big Swiftie from these shows. Sound quality is phenomenal. Performances are 2 of the best of these shows. Just amazing stuff. So like, okay, this like sort of whetted the appetite of people again. Oh, these tapes exist. They're probably in good quality. Why can't we get more of this stuff? Then you get You Can't Do That on Stage Volume 3. You get Dickie's Such an Asshole, which was a compilation of the last 2 performances. I think it's performed 3 times. These are the last 2. More good stuff. Stage 4, you get Montana. Really good guitar solo in that. A good Montana. So you get this stuff. You get teased all this stuff while Frank is alive. So we know that this material is out there and it exists. So Frank passes away, and then we go quite a while, but then early 2010, I think, is when we all start getting these things released for the first time, is you get Roxy, the soundtrack, and Roxy by Proxy. So you get 2 releases almost back to back. I think they were in consecutive years of more material from these shows. Each a single disc, each pretty much well sequenced to kind of feel like a show. One of them closes with the King Kong, Chunga's Revenge, Son of Mr. Green Jeans medley, which is phenomenal, which was an encore. The other one closes with Bebop Tango. So there's a good, like they feel like we've given you a little show of Roxy stuff. But again, more stuff, but taken out of context. And sometimes the performances are, part of it is from the early show, part of it's from the late show, and it's just that Zappa thing is done to it. So a lot of material, a lot of this stuff is out there. Kung Fu is released on, I think, the Lost Episodes. A lot of this stuff is out there. But there was still the talk of, can't you just release the shows? Just release them in their entirety. I'm 7 minutes in talking about the backstory of this. I haven't talked about the music. So that's what they did. And they said, we're going to give you the shows, and we're going to give you the Saturday show, and we're going to give you rehearsal stuff. We're just going to give you everything there is. Shut up, be happy, and I am. And this is exactly what needed to happen. And this is probably, I think, the release that was the most like, oh my gosh, it's finally happening. This is absolutely amazing. I think the only other release that I think for me and some people I know from back in the day that would bring quite as much joy would be a really, really solid. No, nothing would. This is really the pinnacle of stuff. The ZFT, I think, had to release to like, not do right because they didn't owe anything to anybody, but sort of like satisfy a long held desire by many people. But anyways, that. So why it had to be released, that's the history of it. Why is it 14? Well, one, have you looked at the other 13? Because I did a lot in the last 20 minutes going, okay, well, maybe that, no, that has that, and no, that has, oh, no, nope. And I think what it is there is not, as phenomenal as a lot of this stuff is, and all of it is, I don't think there is a singular performance on here that is one of those things that you pull out from it and go, this is why you need to listen to Frank. I think what this is the more I listen to it, is it's a really fun couple of shows. Frank is having a good time. He's kind of relaxed. The band sounds comfortable. There are problems with the cameras, and there's audio problems, and there's a lot of Frank directing people, and like he's got a lot on his plate, but you kind of don't feel it. It feels like he's really happy that he's doing this thing and making this movie, despite the problems that are being had that kind of come up every once in a while. It just feels like a really, really good time. The band is ridiculously talented. The set list, like, there's not a bad song on here. These are amazing songs. They're difficult songs. They're like Frank pushing his musicians to to their limits. There's nothing to complain about. But I think it's lacking that singular moment that makes me go back to it, where like when I get this, there's really two shows that I listen to more than the other, because I just think the performances are better, the set list, the order of the set list. Both nights are kind of duplicating the set list. I'll go over it in a little while. So it's just lacking that singular moment that makes me like go, oh, I need to rank this closer to number one. I think everything else on this list is something that is a little more of a singular, like, wow. And because so much of this had been previously released, none of it's really a surprise, but it's great to have, for me, the actual show. If you have the other stuff, like, it's not that expensive. Like the 6 CD Hot Rats box set, which is like $125. Mostly, I think you can get on Amazon for like under 100. This is still around 40 or 50, or I mean maybe about 50 or 60. It's pretty cheap for a 7 CD set. And I don't know. I recommend it. But anyways, of course I recommend it. It's number 14. That's why I'm making these videos. But also I wanted to say this is, so 73 and 74, I've always referred to as the Duke Fowler tours, because for those entire run of shows, George Duke and Tom Fowler were in every band. The only two members other than Frank that were in every single one of those bands. Fowler on bass, Duke on keyboards, and a lot more singing than he ever wanted to do in his life. But those bands are ridiculous. Like Ruth Underwood was in most of all those bands other than the May 74 ones. You get Ralph Humphreys for the first half, and then he sort of works with Chester Thompson for a while, then Chester Thompson takes over. At one point you had Sal Marquez in the early bands, you had Jean-Luc Ponty in the bands, you had Walt Fowler for a while, Bruce Fowler, Ian Underwood. And during this run, there were essentially 5 tours. There was a spring, summer 73 tour, which had Marquez in it. That's a pretty good show. The Don't Eat the Yellow Snow from Crux of the Biscuit is from that. You get the second summer tour. Marquez is no longer there. This is the tour that you can hear on Road Tapes number 2, which I have yet to review, which is higher up this list, which is then you get the fall 73, which is Roxy, which is Halloween 73. I haven't done Halloween 73 yet. And then you get that May 74 thing, which we don't really have anything released by that. There's a good boot out there that was in the Beat the Boots box. Is it called? I forgot what it's called. I'll put that in the thing when I figure out what it is. And then you get the 2 Elsewhere tracks, and then you get the greatest band he ever had in the greatest tour, which is the fall 74. But of those 5, this is probably my, not my last, but my second to least favorite, because the lack of those singular moments. Frank's guitar playing is kind of, as somebody commented for a previous video, kind of anemic. There's not a lot of to it. It's really interesting. I think there's not a bad Montana solo. I think the Dupree solos are really kind of weird, but not like in a weird pushing the envelope way, but in a weird disjointed kind of dark, just, I don't know. The Dupree's Paradise solos, I just always intrigue me. They're not too far out there. They're not really like grab you, but the more I listen to them, the more the little just weird nuances and noises and just stuff Frank does in them is compelling. But other than that, there's just, it's magnificent. It's a band kicking butt every night. And I think Frank is really never the star of any particular show. There are good solos, but it's never a Frank moment that like goes, oh, that's amazing. It's the band. And for some reason, I think if his guitar playing had been a little better, or Jean-Luc Ponty was still in the band, because in that second summer tour, he was ridiculous. I think it could elevate these shows a little higher, but it's that lack of a singular Frank moment that I think keeps this at 14, which is an incredibly respectable number. I don't know why I'm trying to justify it being here. like by finding faults in it, because I really don't. It's a really, really fun set. I'm going to go over the songs if you care. The first show, this is the, oh, okay, so these are the best moments. I am going to highlight some of the best moments. First show, they're doing a sound check to figure things out and kind of sync video and audio. And like, so the band starts playing what become a slow, like kind of blues jam. That becomes Cosmic Debris. You don't get the dun 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 dun. You just, all of a sudden, Frank starts singing, "The Mystery Man Came Over." And it is a relaxed, loose, fun, the best Cosmic Debris I think I've ever heard. That is the very first thing on this, and it is a winner. Then you get Frank Talks, you get Pygmy Twilight. This is a pretty long version. This is just, it's got the dummy up in the middle, but it's just Napoleon kind of narrating the dummy up to himself. Yeah, who is that guy? What's going on? And, you know, there's just that funk jam is going on in the back. It's pretty interesting. It's kind of, it's interesting because you would think that this came before the Simmons Napoleon thing, but it actually came the night after. So he's already done this whole thing with Napoleon, with Jeff Simmons. So he's just kind of simulating that by himself. But it's weird. It doesn't feel fully committed, but it's got a really nice, just kind of funk jam for the whole thing. Idiot Bastard Son, Cheapness, get another talk by Frank. Then you get a common run of music: Penguin in Bondage, To Mercy Dween, Dog Breath Variations, Uncle Meat, Redunzel. That would be played, I think, at least one more time in these course of shows. All of this stuff would be kind of repeated. It was like modules that Frank had, and he just kind of moved around the set list. Then you get absolute highlight, another highlight of the first show, a Montana into a Dupree's Paradise. The Montana solo is on You Can't Do That on Stage 4. Dupree's Paradise was on that one of those other Roxy releases. This is the Dupree's Paradise has your standard George Duke intro with a really nice sort of funk jam that goes on for a while, and then you get a Napoleon solo, a Fowler solo, and then a Frank guitar solo. It is really good, about 15 minutes long, and then the entire thing closes out with Dickie's Such an Asshole. Dickie's Such an Asshole is a song I liked a lot more after I heard all three of these versions sort of back to back to back. The second half has a little more variance, and Frank messes with the music, and there's a little more improv going on. It's kind of fun. So my appreciation for this song grew after I got this. That's the end of the first show. Second show, Inca Roads. Pretty good Inca Roads. This is the Inca Roads where George does the sort of cocktail lounge opening, and then they go off into the part that starts after Frank's guitar solo in the official version. Village of the Sun. This is the Roxy version, obviously. Echidna's Arf of You, and a 13-minute Don't You Ever Wash That Thing that just jams at the end. This is a phenomenal Don't You Ever Wash That Thing. This is a good time. Very few Don't You Ever Wash That Things go to 13 minutes. This one does. This is a great performance. And then to close out the second disc, you get I'm the Slime and the Big Swifty, the two performances that are on stage one. I think disc one and disc two are the ones I listened to more than any of these first two shows, because there are just so many ridiculously good performances in these shows. And then the disc three goes with the Bebop Tango. This is not the one that is on the album. This one is actually probably better than the one on the album, I think, because there's less talking in the middle with the dance contest. And then it ends with a Green Onions jam, straight up Green Onion jam. Frank even says, "Let's continue jamming on green onions," and they jam on green onions. Amazing way to close out the Bebop Tango. And then the encore is the King Kong, Chungus Revenge, Son of Mr. Green Jeans medley. And this must be praised for Frank's rhythm guitar work. His rhythm guitar work during the King Kong solo, I think it's a George Duke solo, his rhythm work is ridiculous. I mean, it is just like next level, pushing the jam to different directions and sort of different feels, but all like almost sounds like there's a couple other songs that he's playing that he's kind of forcing them into, but it's just the chord changes or what he's playing rhythmically is so defined and so just, it is just ridiculously good. In all of 73, Frank was playing a lot of really good rhythm guitar work, especially that summer, that second summer tour that you can hear on Road Tapes Volume 2. his rhythm work is just ridiculous. And so that's the end of the second show, the first night. Then the first show on the second night, you get a Montana Dupree's Paradise again. This time you get a Bruce Fowler solo also thrown in the Dupree's. Again, another weird like Frank guitar solo that just has just a weird vibe about it. I don't know what it is, but it's great. It's like very intriguing. Then you get another Cosmic Debris. I do not like this one as much because it just feels like dun 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 dun, and it just after that opening from the first night, this one is kind of a little bit of a letdown. Disc 4, you get Penguin Embodied, To Mercy Dween, Dog Breath Variations, Uncle Meet Redunzel. Then you get some audience participation in Redunzel, in which Frank explains the part. One of the things he would do with the band is at the end of Redunzel, the band would each like do a movement for like 4 bars, and then when Frank goes down, they freeze, or no, they squat. And so Frank explains this to the audience and has them try to do it. It's a visual thing that we can't see because this is a CD. But I'm not complaining this time because this needed to be released. Then you get Pygmy Twilight, pretty much a straightforward Pygmy Twilight, short little Frank guitar solo, very short, almost kind of like a afterthought, it seems like. Idiot Bastard Son, Cheapness, and then another really good Dickey Such an Asshole. That's the end of the first show of the second night. And then the longest show of them all, the second show on the second night, is you get Penguin and Bondage, To Mercy Dween, Dog Breath, Uncle Me Redunzel. You get Village of the Sun. That's the end of Disc 4. Disc 5, you get Village of the Sun, A Kinder's Off Review, Don't You Ever Watch That thing. The Don't You Ever Watch That thing, the drum solo goes into Cheapness, where they play Cheapness on the percussion, and then Frank stops, explains what they just heard, and then they play Cheapness for real. Then we get a Pygmy Twilight, in which someone from the audience, Pamela, is going to try to seduce Napoleon Murphy Brock during the middle of the song. So the short jam in the middle has some visual element that we can't see. But again, this had to be released, so I'm not complaining. And there's also a short little like funk jam, a longer funk jam in the middle of that one. A more significant, memorable one than the previous performance. You get an Idiot Bastard Son, and then you get the Bebop Tango, all 22 minutes of it. This is almost all of it was edited down to what was released on the Roxy and Elsewhere album. And then the entire thing, the entire second show ends on the 6th disc with the Dickey Such an Asshole performance. And the last 2 performances of this from these last 2 shows were the ones that are on stage 3. Then the bonus section, this is when we get into rehearsals. We have a Big Swifty rehearsal, a Village of the Sun rehearsal, a Farther Oblivion rehearsal, which they did not play at these shows, and a Pygmy Twilight rehearsal. None of these are complete. They cut them all short at some point. But they're kind of fun to hear, especially the Farther Oblivion. You get to hear most of that, and then there's some start and stops. They are definitely very much rehearsals, but they're kind of worth listening to. They're not bad. Then you get an unreleased track, which is That Arrogant Dick Nixon, which is the Idiot Bastard Son. That arrogant Dick Nixon, he buried some tapes underneath. Changed the lyrics of Idiot Bastard Son to be about Richard Nixon, which seems kind of sacrilegious. A 22-minute video, people. Then you get Kung Fu, an in-session Kung Fu, in which Frank has them start and stop a couple times as the drummers practice, all that kind of stuff. You get the Kung Fu that was on, I think, Lost Episodes is what it was, with the guitar overdub. You get A Kinder's Off Review, and then you get a Don't Eat the Yellow Snow in session in the studios. They're recording Don't Eat the Yellow Snow, but they're recording the version that's the fast version from the Spring Summer 73 tour, not the version that would end up on Apostrophe. So it's that dun 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 dun. It's that really fast version. And Frank's having trouble remembering the lyrics. It's kind of fun to listen to. They do that for a while. Nanu Grubs It, St. Alfonso's Pancake Breakfast, Father Oblivion, and then it's kind of neat at the end of Father Oblivion because you hear that laugh that actually made it onto Apostrophe. You hear that, that little thing. You get like start and stops with all these songs, but it's kind of neat to hear them rehearsing it. And then you get a bebop version of Rollo, which is kind of George just kind of bebopping, singing his way through some, like he's not singing the words, but he's kind of beep, boop, boop, bop, you know, that thing. Interesting listen. Like not really a success, but kind of cool to listen. And we're on disc 7, the last disc, which is the entire Saturday night. I'm assuming it's the entire Saturday night sound check and the film shoot. You get the Pygmy Twilight dummy up. It is 20 minutes long on here. It was edited down to whatever it is on Roxy and Elsewhere. Then you get a second take on that where they try to kind of do it again, and Frank tells people what to do, and he's directing them live on stage. And Don Preston is there as the mad scientist, and he's making smoke and all that stuff. A lot of visuals that you can't see, but again, I'm not complaining because they had to release this. Then you get an Echidna's Art Review, a Don't You Ever Wash That Thing. Don't You Ever Wash That Thing goes into a track called Orgy Orgy, which is Louie Louie, Orgy Orgy. Oh yeah, and Napoleon's just making up lyrics as the band just jams on Louie Louie, and Napoleon sings about Orgy Orgy. This is actually a really good track. Then you get Penguin in Bondage, which is a live. They're still jamming away at Orgy Orgy, and Frank goes, "Let's play Penguin." Dun. You're like, it's nice segue, pretty cool. Same with the Pygmy Twilight. The second Pygmy Twilight, they're jamming away on that funk jam, and Frank's like, dun dun dun, starts playing the Echidna's Arf riff, and they go into that. That's a pretty neat moment. Then you get a Tamershi Dween, a Dog Meat to close out the show. And then you can kind of hear people kind of like cleaning up and picking up drinks for like the last 40 seconds as they leave the Roxy. So that's what this is, 25 minutes. So I recommend it. It's great. It's all you ever need for from the Roxy shows. Number 14 on my list. Let me know what you think about this. All that stuff. Subscribe. Thank you. Take care. Peace. I'm now going to drink this. I don't know what this is. It's been sitting here, this puff puff fish, and chill out. All right, take care, people. Peace.